hand things over to our moderator for today, Yay Network champion, Nadia Owusu. So Nadia, over to you.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Yay Network Meetup. My name is Nadia Owusu. So today, I'll happily being your moderator, and we're here to, celebrate International Women's Month by having inspiring women leaders in business. This session is really to get all of us on board to, understand why women need celebration. So as the Yay Network community, we are celebrating some exceptional women. You'd get the time to hear all of them speak, hear their stories, hear what motivated them, hear what inspired them to the heights they are at now, to hear more about what they do, why they are passionate, and also why they are also here to, inspire us to also start something new in our lives. So we're going to listen to their journeys as leaders, their struggles as being women working in the entrepreneurship space. We're going to know more key traits we can also imbibe in our various life spheres, and especially in our businesses and also in our entrepreneurship journey as women. And we'll also highlight some of the things we can also follow suit. So without much ado, I'd like to also introduce myself. So my name is Nadia Owusu. I'm a Yay Network champion in Accra, Ghana. So shout outs to all the Ghanaians here. I'm also Ghanaian. I like to call myself a youth advocate, working collaboratively with youth leaders all over the world. So I'm really happy to see a cross section of young people all over the world in this call. Big shout outs to you. Thanks so much for coming here and sharing space with us. So I would like to invite our speakers so they can also share a bit about themselves, what they do, so we know who we are here celebrating, who is here to share space with us. So let me head over to our chat and see who is here and who is not here. So I see Duha. Duha, please kindly unmute yourself and tell us more about yourself.
Hi, hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for hosting me in this event. My name is Duha Abdelmanem, and I am an Iraqi. I work as the lab manager Iraq Response Innovation Lab, which is a unit that aims to support local innovators in the country to pilot and test their innovative ideas with the lens of piloting projects that aim to improve livelihoods and to create impact. I've been working in Iraq Response Innovation Lab for over a year, and I used to work as the program coordinator, and now I'm the program manager. The lab is also hosted by Oxfam Iraq, and it's one of the programs in there. So thank you again for hosting me, and looking forward to this conversation.
That's very lovely. Thank you so much, Duha, for that exceptional introduction. We're really happy to have you here. I can see Omomi Akande. Omomi, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. My name is Omomi Akande. I'm from Nigeria. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Smoothie Express. Smoothie Express is a health and wellness lifestyle company aimed at assisting people live a healthy and active lifestyle. And I've worked in this. This business was founded by myself and my partner in 2014. And prior to that, I worked in a health consulting firm. So I like to say I'm a passionate entrepreneur with over 7 years in the health and wellness industry. And I look forward to this meeting.
Thank you so much. I had something that was inspiring. You started your business with your partner. I'll dive deeper into that later. Do we have Mara on the call?
Hi, Nadia. Hi, ladies. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I am on the call. I'm excited to be here and to celebrate women that are doing exceptional work across Africa and the globe. My name is Marie-Jane Michello. I am the founder and CEO for a social enterprise called Jacaranda Hub, which is based in Zambia. Our work basically, I think, expands beyond the Zambian borders. We do work quite a lot with different organizations across the continent and the globe. We are the Yi chapter anchor in Zambia, and our organization is running programs across the country. So we're one of the first organizations of our nature to have presence across the country. And very soon we'll be setting up hubs in 3 additional provinces across Zambia. So we work with young people in helping them establish ideas and develop ideas into viable businesses and products that have a social impact component. So our drive is basically to have human-centric innovations and ideas that solve a problem in Zambia and Africa. And we basically provide a conduit of resources, tools, infrastructure, linkages to market, access to financing, and also access to networking opportunities. Other than that, I also run the Payments Association of Zambia, which is an association that works with digital financial payment services, service providers, as well as supporting government in driving a cashless economy and providing digital payment systems and infrastructure. Yeah, so a lot to say about myself, but I think I'll be able to share more as we talk, but excited to be here. Thank you, Nadia.
Thank you so much, Mara. That was very extensive. We are really happy to be sharing space with you. I think we're missing Jin Lane. Jin Lane is the co-founder of Daily Hubby, and she's also a UN Women's consultant. So we would have her join in later on the call. But before we dive in deeper, I'll really be happy if some of you in our audience are sharing your links to your LinkedIn, sharing what you also do, so others can also know more about you, and I can also know more about you as we get into the conversation. So please feel free to drop your links to your social networks, to also your businesses, what you do, so we're able to exchange contacts, create community, and also create partnerships as we are going on with the conversation. So let's delve deeper into what everyone here is doing, what Mara is doing, what Omomi is doing, what Dua is also doing. So Mara, as you just ended, I would want to start with you. How did you know it was the right time for you to start your Jacaranda Hub? What struck you? Could you please tell us how you knew it was the right time to start what you were doing? You're on mute.
Yeah. So I think for me, it was always going to happen. The interesting thing about my career journey was that I worked for not-for-profit organizations for about 8 years. Before I pivoted to work for profit-making entities, large corporations like Lafarge Holcim, Airtel Network, JTI, which is the Japan Tobacco International. But when I pivoted to that segment of business, it was such like a cutthroat environment, always looking for the bottom line. Are we pushing profits? Are we cost saving? And that space of work for me was a clear indicator that I wanted to be in a space where I had a direct opportunity to drive impact for a lot of people. So it was very clear after working for Airtel that I needed to make the shift and I needed to now build my own organization. And what led me to building Jacaranda Hub was basically having traveled to different countries, and I was in Zimbabwe at the time, and I saw what was happening in terms of the progression. Africa is similar but very different in so many cases. So I was able to identify the similarities, but also the vast differences. And I saw an opportunity to drive transformative change in my country. And I've always been a believer of, if you want to see change, be the change. So you don't identify things that could improve your country and say, oh, the government should do this. this, I always take it upon myself and say, what can I do to make a difference in my community? And so I noticed a huge social dependency that was among the youth. Government should do this. The government should, create this environment. And I kept challenging that narrative and saying, why is it that we're always looking to the government? Who is the government? And if any one of us have the capacity or the drive and the passion to drive change, we must all do it. And I think if we all start playing a role in development, then we'll see the change that we actually want to see. So it was basically then identifying what would be that tool or that platform that I can influence or impact people. And I started thinking around youth development, youth entrepreneurship opportunities, developing skills, like what skills do youth have, and why is it that the large number of our youth in the continent are failing to find jobs? And for me, it was very clear that it wasn't that there wasn't enough jobs. We didn't have the right skills matching the jobs that were coming up, and that's a huge problem for Africa. So yeah, that's how the journey started. But what really activated it was I went to the Youth Connect in Rwanda 2017. And that environment, that platform really it provoked my thinking. It challenged me in a way that I knew I needed to stop what I was doing and really start on the journey of being, a driver in fostering development and transformation. And so after that, I went back home after Rwanda and I said, this is it. I'm starting now. I'm not going to ponder anymore. I will never wait for the right time. It will never be perfect. I need to develop and build as I go. And that's how the journey started. It hasn't been easy, but it has been worth it. 5 years down the line, Jacaranda Hub will be 5 years on the 25th of April. 5 years down the line, I can say that we've achieved, or I have achieved, pretty much everything that I set out to do. And I have, at least I can say that I've transformed some lives. Yeah.
That's really, really inspiring. For me, you mentioned the feel to know that it's not always government. Young people can actually highlight what's happening in their communities and take a stance to, create change, and also having the enabling environment, being to webinars, being to conferences that would make you realize that you can also feel empowered to do something. So thank you so much, Mara, for sharing that. I would like to move to Omaomi. Omaomi, we've heard what you're doing with your startup, Healthy Living, all of that. But why does women's economic empowerment matter to you? Why did you say, let me create something for my own self? Let me create something for my family. Let me create something for my community. Why does women's economic empowerment matter most to you?
Yeah. I mean, we all know that women are resilient and resourceful economic agents around the world, and evidence, and this transcends to every aspect and phase of their lives. Evidence has shown over time that a woman's involvement in the economy drives better performing businesses, and it's a ripple effect. It's no brainer. When you empower a woman, when women are empowered, you get more equitable societies, you get healthier communities, better educated families. And this was, I think the more question that is befitting is how do we capitalize on the benefits of, women empowerment in the society? So, that was one of the driving forces that made me and my partner start our business, because we realized the gap in the society, and it was one thing that we wanted to take advantage of.
Duha, if I'm not going to run away, I'm just going to push that question back to you. What does women's economic empowerment mean to you? So if you could share some few tidbits with us.
From my side?
Yes, please.
Okay, so it's like mentioned before, like when we say that women are a driving force, and that's something that applies literally everywhere. And one of the few channels that it hasn't been fully tackled in is economic empowerment. And especially like in Iraq, the way I see it is that women have been very integral part of community and driving things to move forward. But unfortunately, in a lot of cases, they haven't been receiving the space and the fighting opportunity to work and to explore their potential. I would say I'm quite optimistic about the changes that have been happening, more or less on smaller scales in some organizations here and there when it comes to women presentation, when it comes to workforce, and when it comes to not just being a part of the workforce, but being in a position when they are decision makers within the organization that they're working in. Last week, we had, like within Iraq Response Innovation Lab, we featured some women that were innovators and they were entrepreneurs. And it was very incredible for them to share the difficulties that they have went through. It's already difficult to be an entrepreneur in general, but being a woman entrepreneur adds, unfortunately, an extra layer of challenge, and to be like, to present your idea and to get people on the community on board, and B, to get them to support you as a woman. And so for me, that's what it means for women to be a part of the economy, is for them to bypass that difficulty and to be just, okay, I mean, to have just the normal amount of difficulty of being an entrepreneur without having to deal with that additional layer of discrimination and bullying that occurs and different layers, unfortunately.
I really felt you on that, Duha, like having to get men to support you as a woman. So Mara, please, if you would like to share what women's economic empowerment means to you, we'll be really excited to hear from your end too, especially from Zimbabwe, from Zambia. So yeah.
Yeah, I think from that part of the world, looking at the kind of women that are in my space, the kind of women that we're trying to inspire, and just some of the challenges that women face, especially the biases. When you talk about economic empowerment for women, I think for me, it starts with knowing oneself. What do women value? And what do women identify with? When women define themselves, what do they say they are? I think for such a long time, society has made women feel like their highest achievement will be marriage and children, which is not the case. Okay, that is not supposed to define your success or your being a valuable person, right? So I think it's breaking those narratives that have been passed on, and they're not being forced on us by men. It's women that make us feel like we don't add up when we hit our, massive milestones in the career space, but you're not married. Oh yeah, you're making money, but you're not married. It's like, it's not enough to just make the money, and it's not enough to just achieve your career goals, that marriage should then qualify you. I think we need to stop such nonsensical, I think, it's just ridiculous to even place that responsibility on a woman, that marriage should be her end goal. So I think when you talk about economic empowerment, most of the women end up in marriages or relationships that are horrible because they're looking for a meal ticket, because they want security. So when you talk about security, and the woman attaining that, then you're talking about achieving economic empowerment, because the woman has to have the freedom to choose whether she wants to be in a relationship or not, whether she wants to stay in a relationship or not. And she shouldn't be forced to stay in an environment that is not good for her mental health, because she's thinking, but how am I going to feed my kids? How am I going to educate my children? How am I going to sustain my livelihood? I think that's a huge responsibility and an unfair responsibility to place on a woman. But then again, it's also looking at the numbers. We have more women than men across Africa, and I think it's similar, across the world, right? So if you only have a handful of women that have economic emancipation, then you place the responsibility on women to then take care of more homes than they need to, because there's the extended family, structure that we have in most countries, meaning that this woman won't only focus on building her own, business, her own, education, taking herself, to do her PhD and whatever. Now she's taking on responsibility for more homes than her money can actually sustain. And this is because we don't have enough women that are educated, enough women that are taking up career opportunities. And therefore, the woman, because we're nurturers, we take on the responsibility of taking care of people's homes. So when you talk about economic emancipation for women, I think we need more numbers. And to attain or reach those numbers, we need to break these little groups that women have started creating. You know, the accolades, the awards that we keep giving the same women, and keep creating these little circles of cool women, okay, or made up women that create barriers for other women in rural, Zambia, rural Zimbabwe, rural Nigeria. We need to start creating more spaces and open spaces that are inclusive, because I've noticed there's this pandemic of women's networking groups, but if you see them, they actually have the same women. And I've seen even in my country, the banks keep creating products for women entrepreneurs, but it's the same women. And I'm thinking, are these banks actually servicing the same women? Or do they have other female, bank account holders with them? But why are these women being invited to these circles or these platforms? We have created our own problems as women again. We fought for us to be heard. We were heard. Now we're creating spaces for only a certain, number of women to be heard. We need to break those silos of women and cool clubs. I call them cool clubs because that's all they're doing. They're clubs. They are not being inclusive. So for me, economic emancipation for women will start when we start recognizing every woman as a potential client, a potential partner, a potential enabler, a potential, let's put potential on every woman so that we can help them rise to our level of growth and development. Then we'll be economically empowered.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mara, for sharing this. I could see a lot of women were nodding because they could relate. These are things society has really put on women for us to move forward. Women are still the ones trying to make sure we are not moving forward. And it doesn't have to be like that. Women should support women. Women should break the biases. Women should call for equality and also equity. So I'm happy to see Jen is on the call now. Jane, would you be really grateful for us to hear more about what you do and also talk about what you feel about women's economic empowerment? So Jen, if you can hear us, kindly unmute yourself and introduce yourself briefly. Thank you.
Hi, Nadia. Hi, Claire. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm late. I think I got confused with the time here in the Philippines, but good evening here from the Philippines and mabuhay. I'm very thankful to be invited here tonight and to be with this wonderful co-panelist. And I'm Jan. I'm from the Philippines, so I am a consultant and I am an entrepreneur. I co-founded the business called Daily Hobby. It's a clothing brand that incorporates traditional weave into modern day clothing, which I am proudly wearing right now. And my partner and I started this business during the pandemic. And it's challenging, but we were able to overcome it. And right now, I'm also a consultant for UN Women. We Empower Asia. So my work focuses on the promotion of women's empowerment principles. And also, I am a board member for UN Youth Advisory Youth Council here in the Philippines. So I do a lot of work, but thankfully, I do it at home. So it's a work from home basis for me. And for me, Nadia, women empowerment, being here in the business industry means women's empowerment can drive economic growth and improve business performance for businesses here in the Philippines. 99.6% of MSMEs composed here in the Philippines. So I've been in the development sector for at least 7 or 6 years now, and my work really focuses on helping these MSMEs and promoting inclusive growth here in the Philippines. So yeah, thanks, Nadia.
Thank you so much. And really happy to know what you're doing for people in Asia and also in the Philippines. We really need more young women to, step up, take leadership roles, and also push for women to also move forward. So thank you so much, Jane, and welcome on board. Duha, I would like to hear your thoughts on which kinds of enabling environments women have, especially when it comes to their work in the corporate space, their work as women entrepreneurs. Do women get enough support, or do they often get enabling environments to support them to climb the corporate ladder or also the entrepreneurship ladder? So Duha, would like to hear your thoughts on that.
All right, so talking about women entrepreneurs in particular first, because within the work of IRL, we have worked directly with the women entrepreneurs, and we've also been connected with other women who have gone into that sector. And I would say that the environment is not very enabling, unfortunately. And one of the biggest challenges has been for women to basically to share their vision and to get people to support them to make that vision come true. And that would mean either dealing with partners, dealing with other companies, dealing with clients, or dealing with other members of the team. It's like, as women are talking, like we deal with entrepreneurs that are men and women, and like I see there is a common challenge in general, but when it comes to the undertones that come within the challenge, unfortunately, women tend to, there is a sense of misogyny that exists within that. So even when it comes to just the process of talking to clients to get them to buy into your idea and to partner with you, it's like women have been facing some challenges around that, because unfortunately it's not super common to see women entrepreneurs. So the perception is like, okay, this idea, you know, you're talking about it now, what are the chances that this will actually come through? Which is I would say it's something that actually drives women to try even harder and to be better. Like, one of the things that I've noticed about women in the NGO sector or in any types of employment is that they actually tend to try more and to invest more in developing themselves. However, at the same time, it's also discouraging, and it's one of the things that we really want to integrate more when it comes to supporting entrepreneurs, to help with building that emotional resilience, to build that idea that it's okay if people don't buy into you immediately. It's just, you know, to make yourself more emotionally prepared to go through that turmoil, which is something that all entrepreneurs go through. And this is something like the other day we had a session about innovation in the University of Anbar, and one of the male students said there were some ladies that were trying to do some handmade things, and they wanted to sell them internally within the city. And he mentioned that there was so much bullying that took place at that point, but because they were able to adapt into a CSO that was supporting local handmade crafts, it helped to change the environment. So the more support that organizations like us and others give into that, and the more we're able to make this an enabling environment, not just for women, but for everyone. But it's very important to keep the gender lens on when you're thinking about this, because the challenges have some different things. To talk more about corporate ladders and to talk more about employment in general, I would say that I was fortunate to be within an organization that is quite feminist, which is Oxfam, and that has helped me actually to be able to escalate within the position that I'm in. And it's naturally I put a lot of effort into it, but at the same time I was in an environment that allowed me to showcase and to celebrate and to embrace that. Private businesses, I would say, in Iraq are kind of lagging off, but there is improvement because there's more women that are being integrated into a higher position and that are able to support each other. But it's also important to always remind ourselves that as women, we need to make sure that we're supporting other women. We need to make sure that we are giving opportunities the same ways that we received opportunities, and to appreciate the sets of challenges that women go through, and to keep that in mind whenever we want to criticize or to give any comments, to always make sure that we're not a part of the problem. And so that's one of the things that I can say about this.
Thank you so much, Duha. We really could connect with what you were saying, especially the final statements. Like when women are in place of power, they should acknowledge where they are coming from, how other women fought to put them in such spaces, and also when they're criticizing other women, it should come from a place of empathy. So yeah, Mara, what do you have to say about this issue too? How is it easy, or what kinds of enabling environments are there for women to climb the corporate ladder and also in the entrepreneurship space?
So I think it varies, and think also if we're looking at industry, because to generalize it, then we sort of minimize the challenges, right? But then we need to look at industries. I'm glad I've seen Kapasa on the call, and we had a women with Kapasa on the call, and we were talking about some of the challenges that women face in the tech space, and we're trying to do a review of women in technology in Zambia, and the stories that came up from the women, the various women in the meeting, were very alarming, and something as simple as when you go for an interview, the kind of questions you're asked as a woman, almost as if they're ridiculing your ability to do the work because you are wearing a skirt. But also just the salary scale that is provided to women compared to men in other jobs. And it's industry, focused as well. Certain industries feel that women should not get a fair pay because, they don't believe that you can do the same thing a man would do in that space. Again, the technology space has those biases. So creating an enabling environment will start with us also just understanding from a government perspective, right? Because it all stems from there in many cases in terms of policy development. I'll give a very practical example of Zambia. And I think it's similar in other countries because I've been looking at research on gender mainstreaming. And gender mainstreaming, not on a broad perspective, but on a specific, like industry specific gender mainstreaming. So we don't have policies that support gender equality in a lot of work environments. And therefore, it's very difficult to create a framework that creates an enabling environment for women when there hasn't been any sort of reference point or best practices to make reference to. So I think it will start with us firstly looking at policy. What governs what would be called a fair environment and an enabling environment? Because also we need to unpack enabling environment. When you hear the youth say, we need an enabling environment, when you hear women say, we need an enabling environment, what does that look like? And it differs from woman to woman, from youth to youth, from environment to environment. So we need to unpack it and really define with frameworks and structures that will say, in this environment, an enabling environment would look like this. This is the framework, this is the structure, these are the benefits, and these are some of the limitations, and this is what we need to do. And this is what an enabling environment would look like overall at the end of it. So once we start breaking them into pieces and putting them in structures, in spaces of sector, age, environment, then we start to achieve something. But if we look at it from a broad perspective, I feel that we're always going to miss the goal, right? And finally, I think for me, what would be an enabling environment is when women feel like they're bringing something of value to the table, not just taking. Like, women are not takers. I always say that you can never outgive a woman, no matter how much you try. No matter what her economic stature is, you can never outgive a woman because she's always giving more than is required of her. It doesn't matter what environment she's in. So we need to then create an environment where, as she gives, she's not reducing her value, right? There, we can say it's enabling, because you're not reducing her in order to achieve something for a different gender. So yeah, those would be my views for now.
Thank you so much, Mara. It's really always exciting to hear your stance because you bring it from a whole different angle. And you mentioned like some of the tech communities, when they have women, they try to reduce them. So it takes me to the next line of questions I want to speak to as women entrepreneurs or as women leaders. Jen, I would like to ask you if you experienced any form of discrimination or abuse when you were trying to, just carry out your duties, negotiate deals, conduct businesses. If so, how did you deal with it? And if you'd like to mention a bit about that, Jen, we'll be happy to hear from you.
Thanks, Nadia. From my experience, I've never seen being a woman as a disadvantage, rather an advantage for me, because us women tend to overachieve or over-deliver because we are being pressured to prove ourselves to many people, especially to men. And being in the development sector, I realized that learning and education plays really a vital role in our career as women. And we women need to work twice hard as men, And yeah, so um, maybe back then when I'm starting in the development sector, I tend to see being young, young female as I'm afraid back then because I'm thinking what people would think that I'm working in the development sector while I am still young, and yeah, I'm a woman. But um, I am able to master that courage that if they can do the work, I can also do the work and add more innovation and be more creative because I'm young and I can add more in the table. So yeah, and for me, an enabling environment means when women feel empowered, and that's why in my role as a consultant for women's empowerment principles, I really see my work as important by promoting these principles in the community, especially in the business industry here in the Philippines. So yeah, thanks,
Thank
Nadia.
you so much. Thank you so much, Jane, for highlighting that as in your community, you're seeing yourself more empowered and maybe discriminated on. Yeah, there are different variances, especially with different communities. So I'd like to hear from Omomi. Have you experienced any form of discrimination or abuse in your line of business? We'll be happy to know how you dealt with it as well.
Yes, definitely there has been pockets of discrimination, especially from this part of the world where the stereotype has eaten deep into it. I remember a very glaring instance where we're trying to rent a facility for our business, and as you know, my business is owned by women, and we had to see the landlord, which was an elderly man. And I remember the line of questioning was very, very direct and obvious, and he was asking like, "Oh, are you married? How long have you had have you done the business?" And to me, those questions were very, very, very inappropriate and unnecessary. Why do I have to be married to be able to, run my business or rent a facility for my business? And it came down to the crux of it that I realized that to him, he was asking standard questions and standard, but it's just an unconscious bias. He didn't know in his mind, he was just asking the right questions, but I felt it was very unnecessary. Like, would you ask a male counterpart why, if he's married and why he wants to rent? And they asked, and luckily for us, my partner who is married, she was married, and she answered that yes, she was married and all of that. And that was the only reason why we're able to get the facility, which was very saddening to know. And it's if sometimes you really cannot get over the show because it's a transformational change. It needs a lot of relearning of a lot of things, but I feel like it's getting easier, especially in the past couple of years. Now that a lot of women-led businesses, I feel like the bias is reducing, but it's still very, very prominent there.
Okay, thanks so much, Omomi. Talking about biases, how can organizations prioritize women without being labeled as biased?
For me, I think is leveling the playing field, basically letting when organizations make it clear that, okay, opportunities that are available for male are also available for the females, and everybody has a an equal shot at, you know, the opportunities, the resources. It comes down to basically, even if it's just implementing gender neutral recruitment processes, down to like the interview processes, the kind of questions that you structure and ask the male counterparts should be the same things that you ask the, you know, the female counterparts as well. And then also making the use of data and analytics as well to be able to tackle and know what is prone to bias. I feel like that would be will provide an enabling situation, an enabling work environment for both male and female in the workspace. That's how I see it, basically.
Thank you so much, Omomi. And let's move to Duha. What do you think organizations can do without being labeled as being biased, especially towards women?
So that's actually a very, very good question, and it's something that actually so in pretty much most of my career, I've focused a lot on employability and making youth more equipped and skilled to do that. And I remember one of the conversations that we've had was in some cases, the company or whoever it is, job provider would say, males preferred or females are highly encouraged to apply. And it's just, this seems to resonate quite differently with different people from different areas. But one of the most common things is that when women see men are encouraged to apply, oftentimes women don't apply at all. And while on the other hand, when there it says like women are encouraged or highly encouraged to apply, it does have some sort of impact on the applicant's behavior, but it doesn't completely block the idea that I will apply for that. And I think one of the ways that this can be tackled with, and especially in Iraq, one of the ways to include that indirectly within the interview is simply to ask about the person's understanding to gender issues and inclusivity. And these are some of the things that I, unfortunately, from my community's perspective, I feel that men tend to answer a little bit poorly in. And by including that within the interviews, one way or another, that can help the applicants understand that, okay, this is something that is returning. Maybe I need to educate myself on that. And B, women tend to be more conscious about these things and more aware, because it's a struggle that we go through on regular basis on like within these things. So it's also by giving them the opportunity to express some of these ideas and to showcase their knowledge within this lens. So I would say these are some of the things that we do more or less within our hiring procedures. I'm not sure how, fully effective. I'm sure there's also better ways to do that, but from our perspective, this is one of the ways that we do it.
Thank you so much for sharing, Duha. I'd like to see Jen's thoughts on it too. Jen, how do you think companies can, support women without being seen as biased?
Thanks for that, Nadia. Us in the Women's Empowerment Principles in We Empower Asia, we promote these principles, and we taught these companies about the gender gap analysis tool, wherein they can use it to improve or make progress for their employees in the companies. So yeah, more on about that. That's what I can say about that.
Thank you so much. Without leaving Mara out of this conversation, we'd like to hear your thoughts, Mara. How can organizations prioritize women, especially without being biased?
I think to start with, we should just basically be intentional about creating spaces for women, and we shouldn't apologize for that. When we see a woman that is qualified for the job, we should employ her immediately without any question of, are we creating, because we've been asked to then create a balanced environment, equal number of men and women. But there are times when you don't have the qualified men applying for jobs and it's more women. My organization right now, the men are outnumbered. I think we have 3 men against like 6 women in the organization. And it's good. It's comfortable that way because those are the people that applied for the jobs and those are the people that actually qualified for them to be employed by the organization. But then again, also, I think one of the challenges I had as an employer when I was employing women is that I was very impatient to the challenges that women face. And so one of the things that I would ask during the interview is, talk to me about your period. And women felt uncomfortable. And they'll be like, oh, why? I'm a woman. Every month I have my period. And I know that women have different, conditions when it comes to periods. They experience different kinds of, either sickness or, they treat them differently, basically. So I needed to know the kind of women I was employing so that when that time comes, I know not to disturb you for at least a couple of days. And if you don't show up for work, then at least I can mentally register and say, oh, that's the problem. I think the challenge is that we've also just become too entitled as women. Mother's Day, period day, all kinds of days. So if I am an employer and I have 4 women in the company and each one of them is going to get pregnant around the same time, each one of them will probably have periods during the same period of time, it means that for those days, I'm losing hours, man hours. So I started to think not just as a woman who's empathetic and compassionate, but also as a business owner. So we need to be able to reconcile the two and be candid about how do we address the issues around women. This is the things that also make it very difficult for male employers to pick on women because they don't understand some of the challenges women face. So once we start to understand and talk about them freely and women don't feel attacked, then it makes employers like myself start to create an environment that can enable the woman to work without having to disturb my work. So it's also, we need to be honest as women. We do have challenges that men don't face. Men don't go monthly, they don't have periods monthly. So that doesn't affect the work. They're dependable through and through. We need to be able to reconcile that women will have these challenges because that's our biological, makeup. So it's things like that I actually started registering and saying, you know what, we need to be honest about some of these conversations so that then we are well informed for us to make the right decisions for our environments. Therefore, we can encourage more women to come and work for us and stop labeling women and saying, they're not doing enough. So it's a lot of conversations that we continue having so that we can then create a better environment and keep improving on opportunities for women to work in any work environment.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing, Mara. But I would like to still be on you and ask you, have you ever dealt with imposter syndrome? What motivated you to get where you're at and some of the traits you cultivated while you've been working? So how you dealt with imposter syndrome? What motivated you to be where you're at right now? And some of the traits that have helped you in your line of work to also succeed?
Yeah. So the thing about imposter syndrome, and again, it's when we start labeling, what I've learned over the years is that we shouldn't normalize labeling ourselves certain things, and also understanding the season, right? And understanding how to get out of certain seasons, especially the ones that are too cold that you're not comfortable. So I think I deal with things as they come, and I'm very honest with myself. I know my capacity to deal with things. Where my capacity reaches, I seek for help. Women should be comfortable with asking for help. We will never be able to do it all by ourselves. So be comfortable with asking for help. Identify the kind of women that inspire you. And when I talk about inspiration, I'm not talking about fans, right? Or they look good on paper or on social media. You have to be very intentional and deep about the kind of people that you gravitate towards. But then also, it's some of the traits, it's basically just self-awareness. my fellow women, until you know yourself, you will be existing and not living and not contributing. And I think it's been such a disadvantage to women because we haven't taken the time. Society has not taught us to get to know ourselves, our individual, like our femininity, appreciate who we are as women and as individuals, individuality. If we get to look in the mirror and start discovering who we are, creating boundaries, safe boundaries, the things that we don't want to associate with, the things that we want to associate with. The more we do that, the closer we get to attaining pretty much everything and anything we want. So one of the traits for me is constantly growing. For me, continuous growth, continuous development is something that has kept me going, kept me motivated. And even when I'm walking through the valleys and the shadows of death, I still stay and stand strong because I know there is light, there is going to be a silver lining, and I'm going to get out of it. And I understand that it's just a season, it's a period, it's a phase. I will get out of this. So that is the kind of tenacity. A lot of people associate, want to say that I'm Nigerian. I think it's not that I'm Nigerian, it's because I'm assertive like most people from the West African countries. We need to be assertive as women, and we need to be comfortable with not conforming to just the bare minimum. We should be go-getters and we should be out there getting ours. And the women on this panel are a clear indication that women are chasing dreams and they're attaining those dreams. So if you want an attribute, don't give up, no matter what. Keep going for gold and you will get it.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Guys, everyone on the call, don't give up. Keep going, even if you're in the shadows of death, right? So Omomi, please tell us some of the traits you've cultivated, how you've dealt with imposter syndrome and certain things that have helped you reach where you are now.
I think for me, basically, like how I started my business, how I even got into entrepreneurship in the first place, it came from a place of passion and need, basically. So a combination of passion and need. I identified my why and why I wanted to do this. Like my partner and I, for the most part of it, had struggled with our weight, and we realized that this was not a problem that was just peculiar to us. And we decided that, you know what, let us start something that would have an impact on the society and everything. And when we started 8 years ago, the awareness for like health and wellness was not as prominent as it is at the time when we started. People that saw healthy eating or a healthy lifestyle were probably people that just wanted, maybe they had underlying conditions or they had an illness and everything. They really saw healthy lifestyle as probably like a luxury rather than a necessity and a lifestyle. So for me, it was a place of, identifying what we wanted to do, determination and passion. And obviously there were times that where I felt like, oh, am I good enough? Am I qualified enough? But, as you go along the way and you realize that you really don't need to feel it. It's a matter of of the values that you bring and the skills that you bring to it. You don't have to feel as if you're the best qualified per single. And that's how we've been able to deal with impulses, knowing the passion. And like I say, passion, I keep hammering on passion because passion is the only thing that would keep you going, especially when you feel threatened. And there'll be times that where you'll be tempted to, throw in the towel, especially in terms of when the business gets tough, and it's only passion that will let you stay on track. So I would say for me, one of the skills that I was able to cultivate basically is determination, especially as a businesswoman in this part of the world, and optimism and resilience for me.
Thank you so much, Omomi. Resilience, determination. So Duha, what are some of your key traits and also how you dealt with imposter syndrome?
So as someone, I would say, that is chronically still dealing with imposter syndrome, it's for me, it's kind of, it's not something that works within my mindset to look at the bigger picture. So one of the things that I usually do is that I have very tiny, tangible milestone that I keep in front of me that would remind me like, okay, I'm the greatest right now. Because it's actually very important to have something to do that, especially as you're surrounded by people with different backgrounds, different sets of skills. Sometimes you feel like, okay, I'm not so confident about what I'm adding to the table, but at the same time, it's like looking at things from a micro perspective can sometimes really help with that. One of the other coping mechanisms that I do is just to make sure that I'm always keeping track of my personal development, is that every 3 months I have something to add to my CV. And no matter how small it is or big it is, it's something that I always keep track of. And I always have that one thing that I do, like this month I'm gonna do this, and it's always in front of me, and I keep in my mind what I did last month as well. And it's something that helps with for me, because I tend to look at things from sometimes on a smaller scale than to a bigger scale. And it's also something that I've recently started understanding, that what I'm going through is actually imposter syndrome, because it was something that I wasn't able to completely understand. And throughout, I feel like it's something like related to parenting yourself to get through this. So baby steps, and then hopefully it will, to have a grand picture vision on how to control it. But that's what it has been working with me.
Lovely, lovely. I really feel you on saying that certain things we go through, we actually don't have the names for them. Like when you're going through something mentally, emotionally, we are not able to place names on them. So we don't even know how to come out of it. So yeah, I really think for that, I would say it's having supportive women around you, friends who can, pick you up and tell you, yo, you're great, you can do this. I believe in you. Sometimes those words of encouragement really help you put you back on your feet. So Jen, if you could share some of those with us, I would be happy to hear them.
Thanks, Nadia. First, Nadia, I thought I should go back to the other question you mentioned earlier and be specific about gender biases. In women's empowerment principles that we promote in UN Women, We Empower Asia, some of the specific things that we want businesses to do and encourage them to do is to provide safe working conditions for their women employees especially, and establishing zero tolerance policy towards violence and sexual harassment, and more are respect for time off and medical care and counseling, especially for mental health. As I mentioned, women, we tend to do a lot of things, and other things are train their staffs and managers, especially to recognize signs of violence against women, or that's happening in the ground. And yeah, and going back to your question, Nadia, on how I treat this syndrome is, I just tell myself that whenever I start doubting myself, I just tell myself na, no, you can do it. You just have to master this confidence on yourself. Like, I'd like to share my experience. Recently, I went to Dubai Expo last month for the Dubai Expo 2020. And during that trip, I went skydiving. So just to tell you, I am so afraid of heights. So it was actually my boyfriend's bucket list to go skydiving. It it's never my it's never on my bucket list, but he encouraged me to do it. First, I am doubting myself if I can do it, but 3 days before the jump, I'm really shaking, just thinking about it. I'm really shaking, but then on the day of my jump, um instead of fear, I just felt more excitement. And then, the feeling of overcoming something that first you thought you can't is very fulfilling, and yeah, um it's really really empowering and
Lovely,
liberating to
lovely.
just believe in yourself on what you can do, on what other people um thought you can't. And yeah, I just do that, and start believing on myself, with the help, of course, of people around me, getting mentorship. What I actually I'm grateful for the people around me. I'm being surrounded with business leaders who try to mentor and inspire me. And um, another thing is that we women should invest in ourselves. We just continue to learn and get inspiration from other women leaders as well, and be resilient in whatever.
Lovely,
Thanks,
lovely,
Nadia.
lovely. Some of us need, adventurous partners so we can go skydiving as well. Anyways, it's sad. Like, I've been enjoying the conversation and I don't really want it to end, but it looks like we have to be reaching the ending phase. But it's been a lovely panel having Jen, Omo, me, Mara, Daha talk about what you've been doing, inspiring us and encouraging us. But before you leave us, are there any kinds of words of wisdom you'd want us to take away from everything you've mentioned? People are dealing with stuff, people are struggling. So maybe some words of encouragement or wisdom to take away after this session would be great. So I'll start with Omomi.
Sorry, I thought I muted myself. Okay, for me, I think the first thing I would say is get mentors. I wish I did this in the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. It's important to have people who have walked the path, as in before you, and even in your industry, that operate in your industry, to have to get a different experience and a different insight into it. And I feel like it's very important. A lot of people underestimate the value that mentors bring into your business. So I would say that get mentors. And then another thing I would say is love and respect what you do. It sounds very mundane and very easy, but at the end of the day, it's the passion you have for your business and the reason why you started that would keep you grounded. A lot of times there were so many times where you want to throw in the towel, or you want to cut corners, and it's just knowing that you have the reason why you started, that okay, this is my why, this is why I decided to do this, and those are the things that will keep you grounded. So I'll say love and respect what you do and have mentors. So that's pretty much my advice for.
Thank you so much for sharing, Omomi. So if you're here and you're not part of the Yay community, I think today, and this is your moment to do so, because we have the Yay Mentor Coffee Roulette, which, pairs you with a mentor for a bit of time. You get to share, you get to know, you get to learn. So after this call, you can join the Yay community if you're not part of it, and also check our opportunities portal. We have the Yay Mentor Coffee Roulette. So Daha, if you want to share some of your wisdoms with us.
I think like there's already a lot of wisdom that was shared within this call, and I've been learning from the rest of the panelists. It's great to hear from such empowered women. But the one thing that I want to always reiterate is that if you think, like, if you have an idea for something, if there's a project that you want to work on, if there's a change that you want to do within your workplace, just because you think it's something that is obvious, that doesn't mean that it is. And always try to share your opinion and to push for it to come through. Just don't underestimate the value of what you have in your mind, and don't let others also tear you down. But most importantly is that for you to take that jump for yourself. There are maybe you have this great idea, you really wanted to talk about it, but you didn't feel comfortable about it. Trust me, in a year from there, I'm going to be like, I shouldn't have done that. And so don't hold yourself back when you want to explore something new and something brave.
Thank you so much. Let's briefly hear from Jen, then we'll hear from Mara.
Thanks so much, Nadia. Yeah, I just want to share that I am a daughter of an OFW, and my why, or what we call who got in the Philippines, is that my mom left us 23 years ago to work abroad or overseas. So since then, she's been working, and back then, it seems like going abroad is the only option to escape unemployment and poverty here in the Philippines. And I thought that if only she had a choice, and if only she had a thriving community back at home, a self-sufficient and self-empowered community, she would not need to become a migrant worker and would not need to sacrifice 23 years of being apart from each other. So I begin to dedicate myself to championing inclusive economic empowerment in the Philippines, especially for OFWs and women. So that's my why, and that's
So
what I am
much.
continuing to do so. And I have big dreams. I dream of a Philippines where no Filipinos are forced to leave their homes. And right now, my sister and I live the reality with separated parents, but we just go on, carry on with our lives, and try to inspire, empower others, especially the young women, to just start their careers here, invest in themselves. And to you here who are attending this session, I just want to share that just like my other co-panelists mentioned, to start now. If you have a business idea, start with that business that is aligned to your passion or something you love, and find the gap that you want to solve, that pain point or irritation that you can think of. And yeah, continue on getting inspiration and just be resilient. And another one uh is to take pause but do not quit, because what happened to Daily Hobby is that because we started the business during the pandemic, we had some challenges. We were able to support these communities and they are very grateful to us. But as the months go by, it's just really getting hard and hard. So we need to just take a pause and realign. And we saw the opportunity in doing consultancy in virtual conferences. So that's what we are doing. And we are getting back now to Daily Hobby to create more pieces and promote weave and traditional weaves here in the Philippines, to promote it more to the young generation.
Thank you
So
so
yeah,
much, Jen.
yeah.
I can't wait to have my own piece. I'm a size 4. Anyways, Mara, please share your words of encouragement with us.
Thank you so much. So I think I'll start by saying one thing about a woman and how she's such an amazing creation. We are multifaceted. One thing about women, they can multitask. We can have different layers of things happening at the same time. We can be mothers, we can be wives, girlfriends, and still push a company when things are looking, grim and just dark. We can still smile and still show up and look all done up and look like you're carrying the world on your shoulders, when you feel, when in actual fact, the world is laying strong on your shoulders and you're heavy burdened. And that's such a beautiful thing to be as a woman. Because sometimes we underestimate and also undermine our value and our power and our ability to do all these things and still move and shift and create. So I just want to remind you as a woman that you're such a unique creature, such a beautiful creation, and don't ever lose sight of the power that you possess. When you look at, when you come to religion, they say a man is the head of the home. And I always say, without the head, without the neck, the head is not going anywhere. You cannot turn, twist, or, look right and left. So what's the strongest part of that whole structure? It's the neck, and that's the power that we possess. The other thing is that don't stop learning and growing as a woman. Your power is in the ability to continue growing and continue expanding your horizon. We settle way too fast and I don't know if it's the same thing in other parts of the world, but in Africa, because society has told us that our highest achievement is marriage and kids, we settle too quickly. Even in relationships, we get so comfortable and we get so complacent sometimes. And I want to remind you that outside of the relationship, there's still you, there's still a Mara, there's still a Nadia that exists. So don't stop living because now you're in a relationship, or now you're married, or now you're in a job. Keep growing, because you will never know how far you can go until you just keep taking that step up, going up the ladder, going up in whatever area of your life. And the final thing is that pick somebody up. We have too many women that are still suffering because of the, the biases, because of the inequalities. Let's not be the kind of woman who gets to the top and say, oh, I got here and I've done it. Yes, you have. Good on you. We celebrate you. But how many other women are you picking up as you go? And it's not just picking up and saying, oh, I'm a women empowerment activist, I'm a feminist. It's not chanting words. It's actual intentional actions that we take to lift women from different places and getting them to a level where we can see we have more numbers. So let's be intentional and deliberate about empowering, encouraging, inspiring, lifting, creating spaces. We will never achieve, equality if we don't take that mantle and do what we need to do to get more women to boardrooms and more women in offices and more women running businesses. I think we've spoken enough. The men have heard us. The men are actually not the problem at the moment. It's the women that are becoming problems to each other. So we've won the fight. Let's keep now creating more opportunities so that that fight can be felt by everybody, not just us that have gotten to this level. So let's get everyone to experience and really, really enjoy what we've fought for so long. And finally, be awesome, like be authentic, be beautiful, be awesome, be you. There's never ever going to be a different version. So when you walk into a boardroom, say, I got here, I'm here, and my presence will be felt. Do not apologize for what you've achieved so far. Be happy with what you have and don't be apologetic. Be you and continue being beautiful.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mara. Thank you so much, Doha. Thank you so much, Jen. Thank you so much, Mommy. You've all been amazing. I think I captured the only question that was asked on the page. I don't know if anyone else wants to ask a question. Claire, if you want to ask a question, now is your time. Else I would be ending the entire conversation right here, right now.
Well, as we're 1 minute over time, I actually wanted to ask you a question, Nadia. And first off, say thank you so much for moderating this discussion. You've done an excellent job, really bringing the most out of our speakers. So I wanted to ask you for your words of wisdom before we close. What are your kind of key takeaways, and how are you motivating others? Because I know you're a super motivational person. So over to you.
Yes. I think for me, I've actually been motivated more on this call, hearing a lot of cross-sectional variances from different continents, different aspects, and different women sharing how they've dealt with a lot of things. What I'm taking away from here is that women should be more supportive of each other. Women should be empathetic. Women should create safe spaces for other women. And also, don't give up. Be resilient, find community, and always remember never to be apologetic. So thank you so much, Claire, for having me moderate this session. I'm happy to see that more people from here will be joining the Yay community as a Yay champion. It's my goal to see everybody on this call. If you're not on the platform, please join the Yay community because the links have been placed in the group. So it's been a lovely session. I'm happy we've been able to do this kind courtesy the International Trade Centers Yay Network. So we do have monthly sessions like this. We have interactive sessions. We have a lot of learning platforms on the Yay community for you to learn more. So looking forward for you to join the community, invite your network to also join the community. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much, our lovely, beautiful panelists for joining. It's been lovely seeing all your faces. Do have a lovely day, evening, or afternoon, wherever you are. And let's Claire say something.
I'm not letting you go just yet. Before we close, let's take a photo. So true. Turn on your camera so we can see all of your lovely faces. It's really cool to see that everyone stuck to the end. I know that means you guys got a lot of value out of this conversation. Once again, please join the Yay community. The link is in the chat where you can connect with all these amazing speakers. Don't let the conversation stop here, as Nadia mentioned. Everyone is accessible on the platform. So we'll just give everyone 1 minute to turn on your camera if you can. I understand it's not possible for everyone, but yeah, if you can, please go ahead.
Beautiful faces.
All right. 30 more seconds to turn on your camera. All right, I think that is everyone. All right, let's do this. So on 3, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Awesome. Thanks so much, everyone, and definitely join the Yay community platform to stay up to date for other Yay meetups like this one. And thanks so much for your time. Wishing you all a great rest of your Tuesday. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Nadia. Thanks so much,
Bye.
Claire.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
everyone.